Saltu Q&A number 7. Question from Landon. Is jungling more of an art or a science? I love this question. This is a great question. I love my original answer here. I said I would lean more towards art. I view myself as a craftsman in the jungle, building my game plan and executing on the fundamentals, like creating a painting on a blank canvas. Science is more discovery and exploration and finding answers to me. League is a game that fundamentally doesn't change at its core. Pressure, tempo, vision. We talked about the overstaying video last video on the Saltu channel. Every game you start is a new blank canvas, then you play it, create, review, and put it in your library storage as your work. I love this answer. This is a really somewhat poetic answer. I still agree with even today. Science scares me a little bit. Maybe I didn't do well in science in school or whatever, but it's sort of like too theoretical. I really like the flow and the feeling. Like, I'm not a numbers guy in League of Legends, guys. I don't know anything about builds. I just play the game and I just learn from experience, just reviewing, and I'm about decision making, and I love that aspect of the game, the feel, and like science isn't feel, So absolutely art, and I love this analogy. It's like I have all this like current knowledge. The Summoner's Rift loads up 5 versus 5, the same map every time, and then it's like a blank canvas, and then we're just gonna express our best self on the Rift. This is the decision making. This is what the enemy team's doing. This is what I'm doing. I mean, I guess there maybe is a bit of a science to jungling, and you could even argue, like Nathan, a lot of your methodology and the way you teach is like specific science in this situation. Do this, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want to think when you play League of Legends. That's the point you want to get to. You want to have all this muscle memory down pat, that like it's just quick decision makers. Like, okay, this situation, like you're thinking, but like you're not. It's just quick, bam, decision making. Science like feels like it's more of like I'm just sitting in the lab, just like theory crafting, watching VODs. Like I feel like art's more just like playing the game. I mean, maybe if you're like a full-time VOD reviewer coach and you didn't actually play the game, maybe it's more of a science to you. But to me, absolutely, it's more of an art. But I love this question, Landon. All right, next one is from Justin. Nathan, do you talk to yourself when you play every ranked game, or do you only do it when you're recording or letting people hear your thought process? I was just wondering because I feel talking to yourself can prevent autopiloting. No, when I play high intensity, my best self, I'm definitely not talking. You can't talk as fast as you can think, right? I just do that for educational purposes. But I have heard that some people like to... I mean, I don't know if this is true, but people have like found that they autopilot less because they're like forced to like talk to themselves, or like it's actually a good exercise. And to be honest, it actually maybe helps me a lot, especially in the early days of my YouTube channel when I was forced to talk about my gameplay. It like, because I'm pressing the record button and I know someone's going to watch it. I mean, even if you're pressing the record button for someone else, even if it's just like one friend, I think it's actually a pretty good exercise to just talk about your thoughts. I don't think that plan at your best, that's when it's going to look like, but maybe that could help you get out of the whole, autopilot mindset. Maybe if you're really stuck in a rut. It's an interesting exercise. Maybe it's something I should do when I feel like I'm really stuck in a rut, but talking to yourself while playing, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, my answer here is, I'm thinking 100 miles an hour. All these situations, like talking is just going to slow me down a bit. And that's why I sort of don't like streaming while I play. I would probably never stream playing and talking, commentating, because I just wouldn't be playing at my best. There's just no way that's possible. And as I said here, members have utilized talking out loud to stay focused on the next objective. Yeah, maybe you can come up with a little technique for yourself. Something I haven't really explored myself, but now thinking back again from my earlier YouTube videos, I think it helps me a lot to just force myself to think about the game, really. Next one is from Calvin. I don't really get what the point of the 114 ward is. It seems kind of useless to me. The ward dies before you see any jungler 3 camp invade you. 230-ish if they're fast, and you can only see if they're mid wards your raptors. Plus you lose the... What is the point of it unless they do red, which I feel is pretty terrible. 230, I don't think they get you... If they 3 camp and get you a red buff, I don't think they can ever get there by 230. I think it's around 240, 245. I'm going to make the next video on this channel. I'm going to talk about the 114 ward. I literally played a game yesterday where it's just perfect. I think it was against a Nidalee. I think she 4-camp invaded me though. So maybe there's some situations, but overall, I think it's a pretty powerful ward when you feel like you're the weaker early jungler and you want to be safe taking your red buff when you start blue buff. And as I said here, the 114 ward will work if you skip Raptors. Yeah, I skip Raptors in that example. And then you do the red buff. Yeah, in certain matchup, it's worth it. So let's make a video on it. I'll explore it. Maybe there is some champs that can get there. I mean, it was very close, that Nidalee game. That, it was very close. It was like a couple of seconds off could have made the difference. But it's pretty successful for me. But we can maybe explore this ward a bit more. The next video on this channel will be about the 114 ward. I have 2 wards that I do. I have the Mott ward, which is that straight out of base ward. You're red to, and that's when you start red buff. The 114 ward is more for when you start blue buff. You can just look at the Mott ward, type it up on this channel, and you can look at that video. And the 114 ward video will come tomorrow. What's the safest way to get a good level 1 ward? I usually drop the ward on their blue or Raptors and get no response. But several games I've walked into someone and had to back out without getting the chance. Yeah, I mean, I don't really aggressively ward their jungle unless I'm versing a Fiddlesticks or an Ivan, like these champs that like leashless a lot. And like the only real safe way to do it is you have to 5-man it because you could easily get caught, you know. But in general this season, it's really not necessary. Again, I have 2 wards, the 114 ward and then the Mott ward. Those are really the only wards I do in the early game. Because my mindset is like, I just want to make sure I have consistent early games. When I'm not getting like invaded, some bullshit's happening, you know. Because I know that as long as there's chaos doesn't happen early game, I'm pretty confident in my ability and my control of the game to be able to close out the game. I just want to make sure I'm limiting chaos early game as much as possible. Next one is from Jesse. This is a more specific question. Nunu vs Shaco. I cleared down red, Raptors, Wolves, blue, and Shaco killed me on blue. Do you have a good way to avoid this? I mean, you could maybe, you know, ward out, do a 114 ward outside your blue buff, but I think that's too theoretical. Oh, again, with Nunu, I would rather be... I mean, Nunu's never going to invade you level 1. Maybe it is realistic. I said originally you can't avoid this. I would have to look and see specifically how you die. And as Nunu, yeah, by the time you're that you know, Q and smite, you're fine. And phase rush away. I think I needed to specifically look at this situation because this doesn't make much sense to me, but because Nunu should be able to get escape. Maybe other junglers you're not going to, but I mean that red Raptors, Wolves, blue path is a bit outdated. Usually you get level 3 on yeah, I think that's a bit outdated. I mean, this question is an old question. Again, I'm going over an archive of all the questions from Saltu. But yeah, you don't really do this path. With Nunu, I'm either doing red Krugs Raptors and like doing a bit more of a slower game, level 3 gank, or then just clear my blue and Gromp. Or I'm doing red Raptors Gromp if I want to get level 3 ASAP and gank straight away. Next one here from Michael. What's the worst you've dropped in League? I'm mental booming in Plat 4 now when I was Plat 1 not too long ago. This is super interesting because Michael actually hit Master Tier. I think he asked this question in December of last year, so... Great example of the journey, guys. Going Plat 1 to Plat 4, now he's Master Tier, or High Diamond, I think, now. The biggest drop I've ever done in League was, I think I was rank 3. This is in Season 4. Yep, Season 4, because on my main account, if you go to my OPGG, Season 4, it was Diamond account, but during that season, I was 1100 LP. I lost 1400 LP in 2 weeks spamming games because I had a champ pool crisis because I was known as like a one-trick Udyr, like a farm-in tank jungler style, like Skarner I think I played at the time. What was my champ? Skarner. I think I played like Tank Eve as well. That was like a thing, like with Sunfire Cape. And there's literally a video of, you could actually watch this. I think it's still on YouTube. If you type in YouTube, Rippy... that was my IGN, so 2 P's, 2 I's, Mad Mechanics. There's a video on there, people laughing at me when I was on that drop, that decline. And it's pretty embarrassing to watch, but I'm pretty sure it's still up there. Yeah, definitely mental boob. So it actually happened because, funny story, that Schönfire, the current jungler for Cloud9 Academy, he was like up and coming player, and he kept invading me on my red buff. And I never adapted because I was like, oh, this guy's, I was really stubborn, like kid, I was like 18 at the time. I was like, this guy's trash, like invading me, doing the same obvious invade. I know he's going to do it, but he kept killing me. And I never adapted. And then I started playing those type of champs like Jarvan and Lee Sin. And then basically Shunify tilted me 1400 LP because, he was the up and coming kid and I was sort of like the king of solo queue jungle at the time. That season I did get 3 accounts to top 10. So I did have a challenger account. Top 10 that season 4, but that my main account was the one that I tilted on, and the other 2 accounts were challenger. Because once I got to Diamond 2 on that account, I just ditched that account for that season. So yeah, I've had massive drops. I mean, I was 0 process orientated, nothing. I mean, I had a champ pool crisis. This was a disaster situation for me, and then I just got affected by Shern, as I said there. So that's a funny story, and you can ask Shern Fry about that, because he was trying to, what he actually did? He reviewed my games. This is before anyone really reviewed in season 4. Now, no one ever looked at a solo queue VOD. That was unheard of. So what he did is he looked at my path in. I just figured out exactly the time I'll be on red buff every time. He just killed me every single, like 4 games in a row. I think it was back to back to back. And then I tilted down 1400 LP in 2 weeks, which is unbelievable, right, guys? I was playing 10 games a day at that stage, or 15 games a day. It was pretty ridiculous. That was when I was, a young kid. That was in my pro days. That's funny to talk about. Jesse says, what is the program used to take notes after every game? It's called Evernote. It's an amazing app. You can chuck it on your phone as well. And you can also tag things. It's really great for organization. And Evernote, I really like that. It's free as well. Next question here is from Alex. What do you do when you set a win con for yourself, such as, I'm going to try really hard to get this bot lane ahead because their champs are very meta strong. It's a volatile matchup and they have good win rate. The game starts, you put on, so the first thing, good win rate. I mean, I never look at my teammates' win rates or anything like that. I don't like that mindset. Focus on yourself, what your game plan is. The game starts, you put a lot of time and resource into ganking the bot, and they're just kind of unresponsive, not walking up when you gank, so you aren't getting kills from it. You're losing your top side, so now you're behind and your ganks haven't amounted to anything. It's been hard for me to recover from this loss of momentum, especially if top and mid are pretty shoved out. It feels like I can't recover if I waste time on the wrong person lanes. So my original response was, firstly, I want to look... So yeah, the quality of the ganks, that's the first thing I'll be looking at. This could be like a bit of a false question, because they might not be responsive for your ganks because it's fundamentally a bad gank. Are we making sure the enemy team's committing to minions? Is our bot lane low HP? Is it like a high... There's a difference between a low quality gank and a high quality gank. It's leaps and downs different, guys. If that is the case, I mean, sometimes it's the reality, guys. You get a lane ahead, that's your game plan, doesn't work out. Bam, move on to the next game. It's not all sunshine and rainbows when you play League. There's so much chaos and adaptation. As I said here, secondly, there is games where you will invest your time and resources into a win con and they don't do much with the lead. I've lost countless games with that, especially early game junglers. But as I said, I would want to get specific here because this could be some false narratives going on here. And if you're playing around and a lane as well, ideally you're denying the camps from the top side as much as you can whilst you're playing bot, so then you don't get counter jungled, right? Or you could just hard trade sides of the map and then just take their Raptors and Krugs, or Blue and Gromp. But Gromp and Wolves. But yeah, it's very specific here. But this is scary. Yeah, this narrative. I think there's a lot of narratives going on here. I talked about this in the last podcast, episode 62 of Broken by Concept with Curtis. Be very comfortable losing games, guys. Sometimes I just give me a couple of losses. I won too much in League. Just dish them to me. Let me get some learnings. Sometimes you're gonna lose. It's impossible, guys, to maintain. Like I'd say even a higher than 60% win rate if you're playing a lot of games in your ELO. So you're losing every 6 games you play, you're losing 4. Like, come on, guys. Even the best players in the world, you lose a lot in League of Legends. That's the nature of the game. That's the exciting thing about the game. All right, next one's from Ethan. A few days ago, you said that you need to take time to shift your mindset when reviewing players from different ELOs. What do you think the biggest differences is how League is played between Gold, Plat, Diamond, and how should we be climbing with these differences in mind? Yeah, so originally in Saltu, I did like review sessions for any rank, but I found it so mentally taxing because if I went from a Diamond VOD or a Master VOD to a Gold, we did Silver and Bronze players back then. I would just be so mentally exhausted because I have to rewire my entire brain because it's like, now, like, this person probably doesn't understand a lot of the basics, so I'm looking at some really basic mistakes. It's going to be quick end of review versus Diamond VODs. I'm going to be solving more complicated problems, and my mind's like in a shift. That's just me personally. And that's why now we move in Saltu to, we have specific, our blocks are just Diamond reviews, just Plat, just Gold. So I said my experience from reviewing 3,000 games across all ELOs, shit, that's probably 4,000 games now of jungle review. I've reviewed a lot of games, guys. It's all on the Saltu website. Every single VOD since we started Saltu back in January, March of last year. So, in 18 months, there's about 4,000 reviews plus. So Gold and below, I said not understanding champion identity, making basic mechanical errors, bad gank decisions, we're just pathing incorrectly, no tracking of the enemy jungler at all. That's what I'd see most of the time in Gold reviews. Yeah, just lack of champion mastery definitely is happening in Gold a lot. That's number one. Champion mastery, I hammer it all the time. It's very important, guys. Platinum, identifying, this is where we're starting to experiment with win conditions. Our teammates are a little bit more, quote unquote capable, so they can actually, get ahead with their lead. Lack of tempo, speed of decision making. This is a huge one. People are just a little bit slower to make decisions in Platinum versus, that just takes time with practice. Again, we're not, challenger level players yet. Missing opportunities, Rifthold usage, that's a huge one. God, I did a review session today. I think that was that Gold? Yeah, Gold. We had some bad Riftholds in Gold today, but guys, Riftholds, let's not be stuffing them up. I have a Rifthold theory video, 2.5 plates. Don't rush your Herald. Not tracking enemy jungler properly, and Diamond is more about lane assignments. What do I mean by lane assignments? I think that maybe closing out games with an early lead, refining the fundamentals, getting more into the details. Mindset stuff's a huge one for Diamond players. Is the amount of invisible narratives sometimes Diamond players have is holds them back so much. They're playing so much worse. It's not their level of skill, it's actually their relationship with the game and their approach to the game, I find. And the next one, this is a huge one, starting to think further ahead in the game. 2 minutes ahead instead of 30 seconds. I would argue this is probably lower. Sometimes I feel like Diamond reviews, people are only thinking about the next 10, 15 seconds. 2 minutes might be too far ahead, maybe 60 seconds. But yeah, thinking about, okay, if I do this, what's the consequences of 16 seconds? What can the enemy jungler get? If I show here, what does that mean for the enemy team? Rifthold spawn in 8 minutes, in a minute and a half. How do I want my path to be around that? Should I use my ult here, or will I not have it for that next dragon fight? That sort of thinking. All right, last question here from Josh. Is it wrong to assume that certain types of champions are better to win at different ELOs, i.e. silver through gold? You need more carry potential in the form of damage or one-on-one. Nunu versus ELO versus Hecarim. What do I say here? Early game champs are more reliant on win conditions. The higher you are, the better the player will be. Yeah, so, it's pretty... it's two things. It's also Rek'Sai, at least... obviously, if I was to go and play in silver and gold and platinum, I'm going to be able to still carry with Rek'Sai, at least Lee Sin. But that's because these champs are... they require good jungle fundamentals and just camera control, mouse movement. Because you can't really carry with these champs. You can't run around in, 1v5. Because at the end of the day, Rek'Sai has one combo, one burst, one champion. But if you play champs like Eve and Hecarim or Diana, Diana, I guess if you go Nash's Riftmaker build, but you can fight a lot and you're not as just in burst reliant. Lee Sin could probably run around and kill everyone. I think he's sort of fine, but still somewhat reliant on ult in a way. But that's more the reason. They can really only kill one target. You can still carry with them, but that's why the more carry champ farming champs are traditionally better, like Karthus, Hecarim. So yeah, there definitely is an element of it, 100%. Early game champs. Games usually go later and lower elo as well. So I said low elo is a lot more about skirmishing and fighting and extended games. So easy to execute, and scaling champions are going to excel naturally. That's just the facts, right, guys? But make sure you guys are still enjoying the game, picking the right champions. If you want to play Lee Sin in gold and stuff, that's fine. But just understand it's going to be a rough journey. Yeah. We got a lot to learn in terms of mouse movement, jungle fundamentals. It's going to be, if anything, I think you're more required to have mechanics with Lee Sin in lower elo than higher elo, because you have to, carry the game in a way. And, you want to be looking for those raw reliant champs where you're not really going to stuff up mechanically. Because if you miss a Lee Sin Q, that could be game over in a skirmish, but you don't really miss a Karthus ult, you know what I mean? Alright, that's it for this Q&A, guys. Hope this was helpful. We'll see you in our next video.